for my technology integration project, I integrated technology with a literacy lesson specifically about comprehension as we read the story A Cricket in Times Square. I was in a 4th grade classroom in the Provo School District, and Provo School District has mandated that they use the Treasures book. So this is actually a picture of the Treasures textbook. This is where they get their literacy instruction. So this is where we got our story. Each student had a Treasures book, but I didn't just use Treasures. I also incorporated technology, which enhanced my lesson. I remember when I was little and we just used textbooks, and I think having technology definitely helped attention, but I will get to that later in this lovely presentation. Okay, the school I was at was actually a Title I school, which came with a lot of difficulties, naturally, with the high poverty of the kids in this school, but because of all the government funding, there was so much technology. Each room had a Promethean board. There were computers at every desk, so kids had tons of access to computers, laptops, and iPads available to check out. And I, through practicum, really got to practice using the Promethean board as shown here. Got to use Flipchart, the program that goes with it, and really got to explore all the possibilities available on a smart board, which was fantastic. I learned so much and got to use it every day. I really appreciated how much Promethean board can enhance learning. So as we read A Cricket in Times Square in our Treasures books, we were also learning about the theme of a story. I began the lesson by talking about theme and giving them background knowledge. I did this all on the Promethean board, which gave me the opportunity to write down notes to answer questions. There's a picture, as can be seen on this slide. I actually could click on the picture and it would reveal an answer. So it just kind of upped the learning engagement and kind of made it a little bit more exciting while providing just basic background knowledge that was necessary for the kids to understand the lesson I was going to teach them. So it was such a handy tool to me, and I noticed kids did perk up whenever I used technology, even with something as simple as a background of what a theme is. When it was time to actually read the story, we had created graphic organizers out of construction paper, as shown here. The top sections, each you were to write a clue in the story as to what the theme of the story is, and the last box was the actual theme. We created graphic organizers because as I had a graphic organizer up on the Promethean board in which I would fill in answers, which was able so the kids could hear me say clues that I found, could see me write them down, physically write them down on the Promethean board, not just show it, and then they could be engaged as they write down on their own papers clues that they see. So they were seeing it, they were hearing it, and they were doing it in their hands. So it created a well-rounded learning experience as we read through this story. This is me, looking at clues, and I have the pen in my hand ready to write things down. Kids are at their desks ready to write in their own organizers and to read the books that they have, and also to participate and help me figure out what to write down. This was, of course, scaffolding. I was being the main person at the whiteboard at the beginning of this lesson as the children were learning what to find and look for in their clues, and I slowly began to scaffold them as they came up to the board and took more responsibility for what went on the whiteboard. So as kids, as the lesson went on, they became more familiar with what clues were, and I eventually had students come up and write down clues that they had found in the story, while all the other students voted as to whether that was a good clue or not. You can see some thumbs up. This picture is this boy writes down. You can also see the Mac computers that they have at all the desks. So again, a very technology-rich environment. And I really liked that the kids could come up and write. It allowed them to kind of take ownership of the classroom. They were very excited with me because they wanted the opportunity to write. And it gave them a chance to be involved in the learning process. Again, all the other students who weren't able to write were voting and writing down on their individual graphic organizers. So I use technology every day in this practicum. And I found that it was very important for me to write down what the students were doing in my lesson plans that I would take up to the front of the room with me as a guide, because sometimes when you're teaching, you're kind of nervous and you forget things. Otherwise, I'd forget all the ways that I could be having kids be involved in this lesson. But it was confirmed to me how important technology is when teaching children, it grabs their attention. They can hear me say it and visually see it. They can write things down. And then if I actually have them write on the board, they're in charge of the lesson, in charge of showing their knowledge for all the students to see as we all kind of vote on it. I wish that I had had more of students coming up in this lesson. I feel like there would have been more opportunity, even if it was just answering questions or doing different things. But I think I did incorporate that in later lessons that I taught. So.